Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Front Page for the fall 2016 semester here at KU Community College and broadcast on Time Warner Communications, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, ARMA, as well as WIN 89.1, the college's radio station, and also live streamed on YouTube. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. The boys of summer may still be playing in the majors, trying to see who will make it to the World Series for 2016, but the season has ended at Falcon Park here in central New York. While the bases have been stored away and concession stands shuttered, that does not mean that there is no activity at Auburn's minor league franchise offices on North Division Street. We are delighted to have in the studio today Mike Voutsinas, the general manager of the Auburn Doubledays, who was recently named Executive of the Year by the New York Penn League. We've asked him to talk about not only about the 2016 season, his awards, which he received 2 of them, but also the plans for the 2017 season. Welcome to Be on the Front Page.
Thank you, Guy, and congratulations. You got my name right.
Okay.
That's a great first step.
I mucked it up the first time, and I want to make sure that we get it corrected. So you've been on board since when?
Since January of 2014. So the 2016 season was my 3rd season with the Doubledays.
And I know we'll get into the award, but there's been some marked improvement, at least as far as the New York Penn League is concerned.
Yeah, our attendance has grown every year that our management staff has been involved. And when I came on board in January 14, I was the only person who worked at the Doubledays at Falcon Park. And we, of course, had the board of directors, which is made up of volunteers who were, supportive of the team. But I was the only employee at the time, so literally we've built a new staff since that point and had a little bit of turnover. But that's what we've been working on since that point, is building and growing. And we're proud that our attendance has grown each of our 3 years since coming here.
So Executive of the Year, that's named by the New York Penn League. If I remember correctly, I think I read that between 2014 when you joined and this end of the season, you're up about 23%.
Yeah, just over 23% in attendance, from somewhere in the 1,100 range in 2013 to we were at 1,427 this past season. So it's something we're very proud of. There's been a number of teams in our league that have had attendance growth, but only I think 2 others have had growth in each of the last 3 years. So again, very proud of that.
So why growth?
We've put in some new promotions, some new programs. We've done a lot more outreach, and it's just really the fruit of our hard work over the last couple of years. It starts with corporate support. We've nearly tripled the number of corporate partners we have, and that allows us to do more fireworks shows, for example, more giveaways. Some of our partners have agreed to buy out the stadium and made tickets available at their location. So it's a little bit of a different model where you need to go to, say, Tompkins Trust Company, you get a ticket to a game. And that's something that works well for the partner. It drives business to the partner, and then it drives people to the ballpark. And and a culmination of all those things coming together has led to that growth.
So I want to get into a little bit more of what you've been doing down at the park, but for those who may not be aware, Auburn is part of the New York Penn League. What is the New York Penn League?
So the New York Penn League is a league of 14 teams. They play what's called a short season, which means that the season starts sometime in mid-June and ends around Labor Day. It's, for many players, the first stop in their journey through the minor leagues on their way to the major league level. Some players will play at 5, 6, or even 7 minor league levels before reaching the major leagues. And Auburn has been a continuous member of the New York Penn League since 1982, but New York Penn League baseball actually dates back to 1958, was the first Auburn entry.
Auburn's part of the Leo Pinckney League.
And Leo is part of the Leo Pinckney division, yes.
Division,
yes,
sorry.
yeah. So Leo was the league president at one point, and the league named the division after him. They have awards named after Leo. Really, one of those bright spots for Auburn in the baseball world is Leo
Had
Pinckney.
you ever met him?
I have met Leo when I was working in the Syracuse Chiefs in my younger days.
He passed away, about 6 years ago?
He did, yes. I think it's been a little bit longer than that now. But yes, I had met Leo previously. There's always great partnership. My former mentor, Tex Simone, and Leo were obviously very close.
So the New York Penn League 20 years ago was mainly New York and Pennsylvania sites.
Yes, it was.
And it was small cities. It was Utica, Elmira, Auburn, Geneva. It is no longer those small cities anymore.
No, it's funny. The league was originally the Pony League, Pennsylvania, Ontario, New York, and then then Ontario went away, so it became New York Penn League. And then we were applying for a grant, and we did a little research, and 8 teams have left New York State from the New York Penn League in the last 30 years. And you've mentioned a handful of them. And there's still teams in New York State. There's still Batavia and Auburn. There's a team in Tri-City, which is the Albany
But it's now,
area.
I see, I was looking at
But
your
then you've
website.
got Lowell, Vermont,
all these
Aberdeen, Mahoning Valley, which is just outside of Cleveland. The Jamestown team just moved to Morgantown, West Virginia a few years ago. So the league has really become more of a Northeast league instead of just a Pennsylvania and New York league.
So we'll come back to that in a second. Just let's talk about 2016. How did they do on the field this year?
The Doubledays finished in 4th place in the division. Had a first-year manager, Jared Head, recently retired from playing and joined the other side, if you will. So there were some struggles on the field and some bright moments on the field. But what's important is a number of our players who played in Auburn this year moved on up to the next level. And at this level of minor league baseball, that's what it's all about, is getting the players prepared to move on. 10 years from now, we're not going to remember what the team's record was in 2016, but we're going to remember some of the names of the players
some
who
people
played
in those
here.
stands will.
Some people will.
You got some really dedicated fans. So how did you do outside the playing field through the stands and ticket sales? Obviously, ticket sales are up.
Sure.
How about in sales and from concessions to memorabilia and all of those types of things?
Yeah, all of our revenues are up. Again, we're very proud of that. And our fiscal year ends at the end of October. So we're still getting all the bills and sorting things out and doing all the accounting things that go on with any business. So we'll know after that, probably around January, exactly how we did for the year. But right now, it looks good.
So you had attendance, you said, what, about 1,800?
About 1,400,
1,427. How many can you fit in the normal seats? Forget the special areas that you have where the tent is.
Yeah, with the fixed seating, it's about 2,400 people.
So is weather the chief determinant whether you have a good year or not?
I think so. Weather, and then the schedule is part of it as well, and not just the days of the week. It's what are the other things that you're competing with. We're so lucky in this part of the country to have so many festivals and events and parks and
20 years ago, you didn't have those.
Exactly.
So when the numbers were higher, you didn't have didn't do downtown festivals.
Sure.
20 years ago.
Sure.
So are there other factors besides? You mentioned days of the week. It also comes to whether you have a series of games all at once. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's part of it. And our league has gone to a model where the schedule is made by a supercomputer at Johns Hopkins University to try to really...
Nothing can go wrong there.
Yeah, right. To really try to even out the schedule, make sure that the homestands aren't too long, the homestands aren't too short, that every team has an equal number of Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and so on. We're just...
Is Maryland in the system?
Is Maryland? Yeah, it used to be in some leagues that a person who was involved directly in the league would make the schedule, and so you'd have a lot of people who would accuse that person of making a favorable schedule for that team. So, we'll see. The Aberdeen team is in our league, but I don't know what kind of influence they have over Johns Hopkins.
Is it your expectation you'll have turned a profit this year?
I hope we will. It's going to be close. Last year we did turn an operating profit, which was the first time in 5 years. And so we're hoping that we do. Like I said, it's going to be close.
And what was different, just let's say this last season, between 2015 and 2016? What did you do differently that you didn't do in 15, or you may have started late in 15 and implemented fully in 16?
Sure. We had a new point of sale system in our concession stand and in our merchandise. It allowed us to just handle the lines a little bit quicker at the concession stand. It's been a pain point for us for the last couple of years. We were talking before we came on the air about building the park, and a lot has changed in the last 20 years, what people expect when they come to the ballpark. Serving hamburgers and hot dogs isn't enough anymore, and people are looking either for a healthier option or for some variety, especially the season ticket holders who come every single night. There's only so many hot dogs you can eat in a week. And so we've tried to expand our concessions offerings while also getting the lines to move through quicker, because the time that people wait, you hear it all the time, time is money. And so we're just trying to move people through quickly, efficiently. And so that was
Could you still do better? We
could do better. There's always, in my opinion, there's always room for improvements. I think we're at the point where a second concession location is probably warranted. a bigger merchandise area is probably warranted. There's only so much
And
we
do you
can
have
do.
that type of space on the current footprint?
I think we have the space. It's a matter of coming up with the capital to
Make that investment.
make the investment in the buildings.
So you joined January 2014 for the Doubledays. Where were you before that?
I worked for the Syracuse Chiefs for a number of years, about 15 years, starting as an intern and working my way all the way
And
up.
that's part of the same Auburn and Syracuse. Whether right now it's the Washington
Correct.
Senators. Before it was the Blue Jays, and before that I think it was it the Astros? Were they both? part of
No,
that?
so
Blue Jays.
Yeah, so a little bit of the history of that is the Syracuse team was affiliated with the Blue Jays since the Blue Jays' inception in the late 70s, and Auburn,
Okay.
of course, had the Astros, and then around the year 2000, I think 2001, the Astros decided to move out of the Auburn market, and in Syracuse, we helped make the connection between the Blue Jays people and the people running the Auburn team at the time. Really sold the Blue Jays people on the concept of having two affiliates that were close, and so the roving instructors from the Toronto organization could stay in one hotel but see both teams play.
And is that why it's transferred to the Washington team?
Exactly, and so then Toronto left after the 2010 season. In Syracuse, we had gone to Washington 2 years prior, and again, we helped the people here in Auburn make that connection and sold them on the same concept, and Washington has bought in. They've been a great partner.
Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from the Syracuse area, grew up in Fayetteville.
And where'd you go to school?
Went to school at FM and then Northeastern University undergrad,
Which is out in Boston.
which is in Boston. And then after that, I went to Canisius College and earned my master's degree in sport administration.
So has sports administration always been your, I think your undergraduate was in communications, am I correct on that?
It was. I actually entered Northeastern as an engineering major.
Okay.
Was always very interested in math and science in addition to sports, and really just wanted to work in sports in college as something to do, a way to make money like everyone else does. And then once I got started, I was selling tickets at games or usher at games. It really opened my eyes to the possibility that this was a career I could get into, and had a great mentor there who helped me get along the path. And Northeastern has a co-op program where instead of taking classes for either a semester or sometimes two semesters in a row, you work in your field. And so I was able to get some valuable experience in the field. One of my co-ops was at the Syracuse Chiefs, and things just worked out.
And that's what Northeastern is known for.
That's
as a
exactly
school.
what Northeastern is known for.
So I only say that because you and I were talking. We have family members who have gone to those schools. So last week I met. I was lucky enough to meet, of course, wherever everybody meets. If it's not at Falcon Park, it's at Wegmans. You have your wife and two children.
Yep.
How old are they?
They're 6 and 1.
And do they have any interest in baseball, or do they think that's the only thing that takes their dad away?
My daughter loves baseball.
Okay.
She wore her Washington Nationals gear for the start of the playoffs earlier this week. Of course, it was pink, which helped.
Okay.
But then my son, he's building his vocabulary, as many 1.5-year-old children are, and one of his words that he says is baseball. So they both.
So you're
love
keeping them
baseball.
away from the dugout.
For right now.
Okay, because they will pick up those words as well.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit about the criteria for this was the Penn League Executive of the Year. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
This is the first time somebody from the Doubledays has won this award. Am I correct on this?
We believe so.
Okay.
Our records don't go to the beginning of time, but we believe that this is the first time someone from Auburn has won.
So besides the issue of attendance and making improvements there, what are the other criteria for the award?
Just contributions to the league.
And you sit on some subcommittees.
Yes,
for
and
that.
I'm on the charities committee, and through the charities committee, the New York Penn League awards scholarships to one high school student in each of the league's 14 markets, and then there's 3 recipients of a bigger award. So,
And I thought, was
and
it 10,000?
The total is about 10,000. So it's $2,500 goes to each of 3 winners, and then the other 11 winners win
Do you remember who
$250
was
each.
here in our area?
Oh,
It's an unfair question to
His name,
ask
I
you.
believe, was Jesse Jock, but I don't
Okay.
remember what school he goes to.
All right. And then you were also the recipient, and I remember, I'm assuming Bob Julian is still living.
Yes, Bob Julian's actually the chairman of the board of the Syracuse Chiefs right now.
He is, okay, because he succeeded Leo Pinckney as
did.
the head of the
He did.
Penn League.
That's correct.
So you received the Community and Baseball Service Award,
Yes,
right?
yes. And so,
Now, what was that for?
that was again for, I think that was more of running the scholarship program is done out of our office. Paul Mullen from our staff works with me very closely on that. And there's a couple other people on the charities committee in the league. So certainly that played a role. And then I've always tried to be as involved as I can in the community throughout my life. I've served on the advisory board of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Onondaga County. I was the volunteer athletic director at Immaculate Conception Church for about 10 years. With children, with a family, it's difficult, and with the industry that we're in with baseball, with the number of hours we work, it's tough to be as involved as I once was when I was younger, but coached my daughter's softball team this past year, just volunteered to teach religious ed classes, so just trying to do it as much as I can. And then the Doubledays are particularly active in the community as well, making appearances at libraries and schools, getting Abner out into the community, and that's really important to us. We talked about how do we achieve that growth, and that's really another component, is getting ourselves out there, making connections, whether it's with libraries, schools, little leagues, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts.
You're invited, you guys will show up.
Yes, exactly.
So you also
We invite ourselves sometimes
Okay,
too.
that's all right. That's how you get into the best places. You also have something called the Lil Abner program. Is that something new?
No,
Or what is it, first of all?
it's a kids club, and it's free for children to join, and that's again something that we've expanded on. Before our staff came in, you could sign up for the club and it was free. You would get a free ticket on Sundays, and it really wasn't working. We looked at the data we could find from past management, and Sundays were lacking, and so we decided we needed to do something different. People weren't coming to the extent that they should have on a Sunday, and so in addition to offering the free ticket, the first year, which was 2014 of our management, we offered also a free drink and a free ice cream. Results were a little bit better, and then for 2015 we added a free hot dog to the mix. And so now if you're a child 12 or younger, your parents can sign you up for this club, which is free. You get into the game for free, you get a free hot dog, a free...
But you have to come with an adult.
You don't necessarily,
okay.
but if you're younger than 12, you
You're not
probably
driving
aren't. Yeah, you can't drive, exactly. So you do get the free ice cream. We have 2 Doubledays players sign autographs every Sunday before the game starts. And then after the game, all the kids can run the bases on the field, which is a pretty neat thing.
So who makes the decision on both, whether it's the Executive of the Year Award from the New York Peddling League or the Bob Julian Award? Who makes those
So those awards are voted on by the teams in the league. Every team gets a ballot, and you fill the ballot out.
So this was your peers?
It was an award given by my peers. Both awards were given by my peers.
Which makes it even sweeter.
Yeah, it really is. But I've said a lot that my name is on the awards, but particularly the Executive of the Year wouldn't have been possible without our staff, who work so many hours. They all work so hard. The accomplishments that we've achieved, we've done together. So it's really a recognition of our group coming together and moving the franchise forward over the last 3 years.
And this is last year, Brian Rhodes was named your league's groundskeeper of the year.
Yes.
So you guys are on a roll.
We are on a roll. Brian started it by winning the Groundskeeper of the Year award, which is well deserved. In my opinion, he should be at least a 3-time winner of that award. And then we were also recognized, the Doubledays were over the summer, as a Seneca County Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year. So you don't do it for the awards, but getting the recognition
nice add-on.
is really nice, especially for our staff.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, and this is where it's going to get a little confusing to the public possibly. Who owns the Auburn Doubledays?
Sure. So the Doubledays, as you know, of course.
Unfortunately, or
Fortunately or unfortunately, our own, the Doubledays franchise is owned by the city of Auburn. Falcon
Which is
Park
an
is
oddity.
also owned by the city of Auburn. Yeah,
That's not an oddity.
That is not an oddity. It's very, very common for municipalities, whether it's counties or cities, or I doubt any states own facilities, but they may. Municipalities oftentimes own the venue, whether it's a baseball stadium, a hockey arena, football stadium, etc. I don't know that there's any other franchise that's owned by the municipality. It's common, or a little more common, that stockholders own a franchise.
So, for example, we were talking beforehand, and I only say this because we have a very big fan in Dr. Dobell upstairs. He's a Green Bay Packers guy, and I think I read on the top of a Snapple cap, that is a fan-owned organization.
Yes, so stockholders own shares of stock in the Green Bay Packers. They elect a board of directors that operates the team.
But the park itself is, while the city operates the park itself and that is under the umbrella of Auburn Community Baseball.
Correct. So minor league baseball, which governs all 160 affiliated minor league teams, would not and will not allow a municipality to operate one of its franchises, just for the simple fact of every 4 years you can have an election, and then you're going to essentially have different ownership.
Issues.
So they're looking for consistency, and so years ago a group called Auburn Community Baseball was formed to bring baseball back here to Auburn. And at some point in the transition of Auburn Community Baseball shifting the ownership to the city, Auburn Community Baseball then entered into an agreement with the city of Auburn to operate the franchise and also operate the park.
So is that an ongoing, or is it renewed every year?
It's a 3-year term.
And I know the board was much larger at one point. How big is the Auburn Community Baseball Board now?
Sure. So as a result
with voting members.
Yeah, so as a result of some of the changes that have gone on over the last couple of years, following the 2014 season, the city of Auburn decided to consolidate, to take a little more control over the team. The board was reconfigured. The voting members of the board, as the bylaws are currently written, are the mayor, the city manager, and the general manager of the team. The previous board members were invited to stay on as non-voting members in an advisory capacity.
Roughly a 10-member board.
Yeah, it was a 9-member board at the time.
So I know in the press release it says Doug Selby because we didn't have an official city manager. So does that mean that Jeff Dygart will be new to your board, or is Doug Selby staying on board?
No, so Doug decided, or Doug agreed. I don't think Doug decided. I think Doug agreed to stay on as president of Auburn Community Baseball while the city manager search played out. Jeff, as interim city manager, had to appoint Doug as his designee, which made a lot of sense, as the city worked through its own agenda to keep everything with Auburn Community Baseball the same. So I would imagine now that Jeff has become officially the city manager, there will be a transition, and Jeff will take on that role.
Do you see you ever go back to this larger board, or do you think it's a 3-member board for the time being?
I think that the 3 voting member board has worked well. I think it makes sense like I said, as the city has the desire to take a little bit more control. I think that's what's allowed them to do that.
So I've set this up a little bit so that people could understand why the city might have loaned Auburn Community Baseball. How much did they borrow? There were 2 different borrowings.
Yeah, so after the 2013 season, which was again before our current management team was involved, the team had a number of bills to pay. If you went to the letter of the contract, the city maybe should have paid all of those bills. But what happened at the time was the Auburn Community Baseball Board asked the city of Auburn, the city council, for a loan of $125,000 to pay off their debts. Fast forward to the end of 2014, which was our first year, we had just about a break-even year. After taxes and depreciation, amortization, the loss was maybe $4,500, which we were pretty happy with. Our staff didn't start until January, which is essentially half of the off-season. But what had happened is that $125,000 loan from the city to Auburn Community Baseball wasn't enough. They really probably should have asked for $200,000. And so at that time, we did take out a $65,000 line of credit with a local bank just to bridge that gap, and we're just very cash poor.
So does the money that you borrowed 2 months ago clear the decks now?
Yes, and so the city of Auburn a couple months ago, in a credit to the counselors for realizing that Auburn Community Baseball's money is essentially the city's money. And so over the last 2 years, we've been paying interest to this local bank. We've made all the payments on time, but we've been essentially using the city's money to pay interest. And the city saw an opportunity to clear the deck, and they extended a line of credit in the same amount so that we could pay off that line of credit and no longer
But the bottom line is it's a city operation.
Exactly.
Whether it was similar to Parks and Recreation or Sewer Department. Or, some people contest that particular analogy. But so you also just got a new agreement, a renewed agreement with Washington.
That's correct.
How long is that for?
So that's an extension of our agreement for another 2 years. So that'll take us through 2017 and 2018.
How often do those agreements come into play?
Well, they're either 2 or 4 year contracts, and they're all standardized. They're called player development contracts. And a number of years ago, minor league baseball and Major League Baseball agreed that every minor league team would sign the same agreement as one another with a major league team. So who makes that
determination? Do they negotiate with you each individually?
Or but there isn't really a negotiation because it is standardized. We couldn't go to Washington and say, okay, we'll re-sign with you if you build us a new stadium. and then we could go to, say, the Yankees
Yeah,
and
the
say,
owners don't do that.
we'll sign with
Been
you if
through
you
that.
buy us a new scoreboard.
Okay.
That's not allowed anymore. So
But what
really,
would
it's a matter
happen-
of comfort with the player development staff from Washington and our front office.
So if Washington said we don't want to have an agreement, how would you, because you still have a franchise,
Sure.
who would make the determination or connect you with another team?
Sure. So what's important, and a lot of people ask this question over the summer, is what will happen if Washington doesn't want to come back? Will we lose the team? The answer is no. The agreement between Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball calls for 160 player development contracts. So if Washington had decided not to come back, or if we had decided that we didn't want to extend with Washington, you would essentially enter a free agency period after the season ends. It's in the middle of September, where you're then free to talk to any team that also was looking for
And
a new
that wasn't
partner
something
at
Auburn
this
was
level.
interested in.
And Washington was interested in coming back, and we weighed the alternatives. And you can speculate because what happens is teams will announce that they've re-signed with their major league affiliate, and so you can kind of go down the checklist and say, okay, this team might be available, this team's not going to be available. So you can guess as to who's available. You're not allowed to talk to those other teams, but it allows you to weigh, these are the possibilities, and this is what we've got.
And did you want to stay with Washington?
And we did, and that's why we did extend with Washington before that free agency period.
See, we mentioned the number of teams that used to be up here in upstate New York and in those towns and cities. There is always this, it's almost a perennial, every so many months story. Will Auburn lose its franchise? How would Auburn, can the league just say, you know what, Auburn, you're no longer, in 1992 it said it by way of, if you don't build a stadium, you're out.
And that was Major League Baseball.
That was
Back
Major
in
League.
1992, Major League Baseball realized that a lot of the minor league stadiums were getting old. They were in a little bit of a contentious negotiating period with minor league baseball, and that was one of the big issues that Major League Baseball held over the minor league team's head, and minor league baseball as a whole, was you need to upgrade your facilities, and that's how the new Falcon Park got built.
So is there a chance that Auburn could lose?
Sure, it would probably be unprecedented for the league to step in and pull a franchise. I think the league
It's usually a negotiation.
I think the league would rather see, if an owner was struggling or if a city was struggling, the league would rather see a new owner come in. But that's partly why the city owning the team is a good thing, because the city of Auburn's primary interest is going to be owning the team in Auburn. I don't think the city of Auburn would want to own the team in another city.
So you don't see the city also putting it up for sale without conditions that it would stay in?
Yeah, I think that that would have to be one of the conditions, and it would have to be worked out.
Have you talked to
in a
outside
way.
investors to say would they buy a share to give you operating cash?
I'm not involved in that. The way we talked a little bit about the structure, and so I'm involved in Auburn Community Baseball running the team. In terms of the ownership structure of the team, that's still handled by the city manager, the mayor, the council.
Okay. World Series is up and coming, but you're also selling tickets. Am I correct
Yeah,
on this?
of course.
All right. So how much can people buy tickets now?
People can buy, yeah, sure. People
Okay.
can buy season tickets now. We have full season tickets. We've added, since our management team came in, we added half season tickets. The commitment to come to 38 games over 2.5 months is
It's
a
a
pretty
lot.
big commitment, yes. So we brought in a half-season schedule, which is 20 games.
And how much are tickets?
We've also ramped up. We have flex plans, which are 10 games. So
Okay.
full season tickets right now, there's an early bird price until December 1st.
you get a discount if you do it now.
It's
Okay.
$210. I'm sorry, it's $209. We've reconfigured it. It's a dollar, but whatever. It's $209 all the way down to the flex plans, which are 10 games for a box seat. Those are $65.
And Flex Plan, you say they can call you
pick
later in the
game.
season.
Exactly.
You don't have
So-
to pick them now.
Exactly. You're going to get a group of undated vouchers. You call us later in the season. You can do it by phone. You can do it online. You come right to the ticket office and you trade that in for a ticket to the game of your choice.
And when do those discounts run till?
So the early bird pricing is in effect until December 1st. The flex plans, which are discounted, those are on sale until the season starts, and then we're into the regular season.
So a great Christmas gift for those people.
Perfect Christmas present.
And people can do that how?
People can call our office, 255-2489, or go online, auburndoubledays.com.
Or stop down at...
Or stop down. We're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
We do want to thank Auburn's general manager of the Auburn Doubledays, Mike Voutsinas, to join us to talk about the Doubledays this year. Also give us a preview of future season. Hope you'll come back in the spring. Give us an update.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Next Tuesday, we'll be back with Seth Jensen, the director of the city's municipal utilities, as well as Owasco Watersheds Lakes Association's current president, Bob Brower, and a former president, James Beckwith, to discuss the issue of blue algae in Owasco Lake. On Beyond the Front Page, we'll be back with a discussion about regional media access, better known as ARMA, which is who shows these shows on the weekends, and they provide other services to the community, and we'll talk about that. In the coming weeks, we will have a discussion with the new city manager, Jeff Dygert, and he will be joined by Mayor Michael D. Quill to introduce him to the community, as well as Auburn Large School District Superintendent Jeff Parazola, who will give us a district update. We are in the process of finalizing our forums for this year. We'll have the candidates for the 51st Senate District, Senator James Seward and his challenger Jermaine Bagnell Graham, for Thursday, October 20th. That's next Thursday. And the candidates for the 126th Assembly District, which is Assemblyman Gary D. Finch and challenger Diane Dwyer, on Tuesday, November 1st. We also hope to bring you candidates for the 51st Senate District. Right now, that is the seat being vacated by Senator Michael F. Mazzolio, who's decided not to seek re-election. We have a confirmation from Keenan Baldridge, who is the Democratic candidate. At this particular stage, his Republican opponent, Ms. Helming, has not agreed to participate, but we will give, under our rules, time to Mr. Baldridge. We'd like to get your ideas for thoughts and ideas for future shows. You can contact us at cozguytho@aol.com or Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York. I'm Guy Cosentino for Community College. We hope you have a good night and have a great tomorrow. And they'll tell